Hello everyone. Let's have a quick recap on what we have learned in the last video. In the last video, we learned about VPC, that is Virtual Private Cloud. Two VPCs cannot communicate with each other by default, but it requires yes. Most important question from certification point of view. We can create up to 5 VPCs in one region. Again, most important question from certification point of view. Then what is the definition of VPC? It is logical isolated section in AWS where we can launch resources in virtual network. What are those resources? Resources nothing but AWS services. We also learn about regions in AWS. What are those? We also learn about layers in AWS. What are those layers? First is AWS. Inside AWS, we will have region. Inside region, we will have VPC. Inside VPC, we will have ability zones. And inside the ability zone, we will have our EC2 instances. Guys, there are two more layers in AWS, that are security groups and NACL, Network Access Control List. When we will cover these topics, we will see more details about security groups and NACL and where those layers comes in AWS. Okay. Now let's move to the today's topic and most important topic in AWS, that is EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Guys, before moving to our topic, let me clear you one important strategy that we are going through each services in details, which will help us to clear the interviews. Like we will go with concept first, then we will see practicals and project. Why we are going through concept first? Because in interview they will ask more questions on concept only. If our concepts clear, then easily we can deploy our project, we can do practicals on that. And believe me, in interviews most of the questions will be on concept only. If our concepts will be clear, definitely we can crack our interviews. And I will give you promise that if these concepts are clear and the process we are following in these videos, like if you follow this process, you will definitely able to clear the interviews. So now let's move with today's topic, that is EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Now let's assume that I have one application. Let's say I have Java application and I want to deploy that application in server. To access my website, I need one URL. Okay. Then I will search for options in AWS that where I can deploy this application, from where I will get website to access my URL. Okay. Then I came to know about two services in AWS where I can deploy my application in servers. What are those services? One is EC2, that is Elastic Compute Cloud, and one is Elastic Beanstalk. What are those two services in AWS to deploy the application? One is EC2, that is Elastic Compute Cloud, and one is Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. Now what is the difference between these two services? Okay. We'll learn about types of services in our previous videos. What are the types of services? There are three types of services. One is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. In infrastructure as a service, data, application, and operating system is managed by customer. Then storage, server, network, virtual machines managed by AWS. Then what is platform as a service? In platform as a service, data and application is managed by customer. Operating system, storage, server, network, virtual machine managed by AWS. Okay. Then here EC2 is a infrastructure as a service. It means in EC2, data, application, and operating system is managed by customer. And Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service in which data and application is managed by customer, then operating system, storage, network, server, virtual machine managed by AWS. Okay. Now I want to deploy that application, Java application in server. So I came to know that there are two services in AWS where I can deploy my application. One is EC2 and one is Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. EC2 is a infrastructure as a service and Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service. Interviewer may ask you which is infrastructure as a service in AWS. We can say EC2, and if he asks about platform as a service, we can say Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. Now AWS services can either be regional or global. Okay. AWS services can either be regional or global. What are the services are there in AWS? that services can be either regional or global. Then what is the difference between this regional and global? Okay, now I am deploying the EC2 server in Mumbai region. Okay, so I can access this EC2 server in Mumbai region only. I cannot access that server in Singapore region or any other region. I can access that EC2 in specific region only. It means in which region I am accessing that specific service, there that service cannot be accessed in another region. It means EC2 is a regional service. It means like if I am accessing EC2 in a Mumbai region, then I cannot access in other region. Okay, then EC2 is a regional. EC2 is a regional service. Okay. There are some global services in AWS like Route 53, but there are rare services in AWS which are global. Rest of the services are regional. As we will go through the services, I will tell you which service is regional, which service is global. So EC2 is a regional service. So now what we have seen, that I want to deploy one application, Java application, and I came to know there are two services in AWS. What are those? EC2 and Elastic Beanstalk. EC2 is the infrastructure as a service, in Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service. Okay, that now depends on me which service I want to use to deploy my application. Now for now let's forget that we are using AWS. Okay, if you do not use AWS, how we could deploy our application on server? Okay, we have to deploy our application on premises. Okay, let's say for now we are assuming that we do not have AWS, so we have to deploy our application on server. So we are deploying this application on premises. Then what is on premises? First we will understand what is on premises. On premises means data center which is handled by us. What is on premises? On premises means data center which is handled by us. Okay, then what is data center? What is data center? Data center means it contains infrastructure. It contains infrastructure. Then what is infrastructure? Infrastructure contains storage. Infrastructure contains storage, server, it can be network or virtual machines, okay, etc. Okay, for now we are assuming that we do not have AWS service, so we are deploying our application on premises. Okay, in on premises, if I am deploying my application, how I can deploy my application? Like I will use one these are my applications. Okay, these are my applications. This can be database. Okay, and there will be one load balancer to distribute the traffic. Okay, now here customer will send request to the load balancer. Okay, customer will send request to the load balancer, then load balancer will distribute the traffic to this application. This is our on premises. Let's assume this is our on premises. For now we are not using AWS, so what the option we have to deploy our application, that is on premises. In on premises we are using one load balancer to distribute the traffic. What is load balancer? It distributes the traffic across multiple servers. Then load balancer will distribute traffic to the application, then application will distribute traffic to the database. Load balancer will distribute traffic to the application, applications will distribute traffic to the database, and database will redirect request to the load balancer. Okay, this is what we know till now. Okay, now suddenly if one application goes down, so it is difficult to increase the applications, or it is difficult to increase the database. Why? Because these are the physical application, this is the physical server that we have, so increasing or decreasing the physical server is impossible. So increasing or decreasing the server is impossible. So in on premises we will not have high availability here. In on premises we will not have high availability, we will not have auto scaling, and we will not have scalability. Okay. Like if one of the application or if one of the database goes down, so increasing the application or increasing the database is difficult in on premises, because these are the physical servers. So it will not provide us high availability, it will not provide us auto scaling, it will not provide us scalability. What is high availability? The period of time service is available to the customer. In high availability we will have three concepts: redundancy, monitoring, and failover. Redundancy means having same application on different servers. What is monitoring? Load balancer will do health checks of application. Then what is failover? If one server goes down, other server will take request. This high availability part also we have covered in our previous video very nicely. So we can look for that videos first. Okay. Then what is scalability? Increasing the capacity of server. Those options are not available in our on premises. So we are going to the AWS. So AWS will provide us high availability, auto scaling, and scalability. How it will provide? Because AWS is providing all the data or all the servers, whatever the services AWS is providing to us, that are the virtual services. Okay. Now we are going to AWS to deploy our application. Now we are using here load balancer. So AWS will also have one load balancer, but it will not be load balancer name. Okay, before going to the load balancer part, let me clear one thing that load balancer is a software. Load balancer is a software, so we need to install the load balancer. It is also difficult part to increase the load balancer in on premises. Okay. Load balancer is a software, so we need to install load balancer. Okay. So it is difficult task to increase the load balancer or to increase or decrease the servers, anything. So we will not have high availability, auto scaling, and scalability in on premises. So we are going to AWS services to get this high availability, scalability, and auto scaling. So all the services AWS is providing us, that are the virtual services. So here also, instead of load balancer, the AWS is providing us elastic load balancer. Instead of load balancer, AWS is providing us elastic load balancer. It is a service that AWS is providing us to distribute the traffic. Then from the point of view AWS, what is the definition of elastic load balancer? It is a AWS service which distribute traffic to multiple EC2 instances across availability zones. In our on premises we used to have load balancer. Okay. On premises load balancer is a software, so we need to install it. But in AWS services, AWS is providing us elastic load balancer, because this is virtual service. So then what is elastic load balancer? It is a service which distribute traffic to multiple EC2 instances across availability zone. Now we are going to deploy our Java application on the servers. Then AWS provided us elastic load balancer. We have created the elastic load balancer here. Okay, we have provided one elastic load balancer here. This is our elastic load balancer. Okay, now we will have multiple servers to deploy our application. Okay, why AWS is providing us multiple server, because if one server goes down, the request will be go to the another server. So these servers will be deployed in different availability zone. For example, we have Mumbai region. In Mumbai region we have 3 availability zones, so we are deploying the same application in 3 availability zone. We will have one EC2 instances in 1A availability zone, one EC2 instances, so one B availability zone, and one EC2 instances in 1C availability zone. Okay, these are our availability zone. This is 1A availability zone, this is 1B availability zone, and this is 1C availability zone, and these are our EC2 instances. Okay, now elastic load balancer is distributing traffic to the multiple servers. Okay, elastic load balancer is distributing traffic to the multiple EC2 instances. Now here, if one server goes down, other server will take request. Okay, so what happens here? We no need to worry about high availability, no need to worry about auto scaling, no need to worry about scalability. All this will be managed by AWS only. We just need to deploy our application in servers. We need to maintain our application. We need to deploy. We need to do some configurations in EC2, and yes, rest of the things will be managed by AWS. Means high availability, auto scaling, scalability will be managed by AWS. So there are no chances that my application will go down. So if I'm deploying my application in EC2, if I am deploying my application in EC2, I need to deploy that application, I need to maintain that application, I need to do some configurations in my application. Okay, like it means everything I need to do in EC2. I need to deploy, I need to maintain, I need to configure the application. But for example, I don't know how to deploy the application. I don't know how to maintain the application. I don't know how to configure the application. Okay, then AWS is providing us a platform as a service. Then which is the platform as a service in AWS? It is Elastic Beanstalk. In Elastic Beanstalk, we just need to upload the application. We just need to upload the application. Now here, everything will be managed by AWS. Like AWS will maintain the application, AWS will deploy the application, AWS will take care of our configurations also. Okay, full control will be in the hands of AWS only if you use Elastic Beanstalk. In EC2, we can deploy, we can maintain, we can configure. Okay, and in Elastic Beanstalk, we just need to deploy the application. We just need to upload the application. Everything will be managed by AWS. This is the major difference between EC2 and Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, now here we are using Elastic Load Balancer to distribute the traffic. Then there will our EC2 instances will be available in multiple availability zones, because we will get then high availability, we will get auto scaling, we will get scalability. Everything will be managed by AWS. So this will be, so here now AWS will provide us DNS name in Elastic Load Balancer. AWS will provide us DNS name in Elastic Load Balancer. What is the use of this DNS name? This DNS name will provide URL to access our website. This DNS name will provide URL to access our website. In Elastic Load Balancer, AWS will provide us DNS name. What is the work of DNS name? It will provide URL to access our website. So it gets very easy to access our website if we get AWS services. Now then, what is the definition of EC2 and what is the definition of Elastic Beanstalk? What is the definition of EC2? As we know, it is a AWS service. It is a AWS service where we can launch virtual servers. In On premises, we used to launch physical servers. In AWS services, we have EC2 instances where we can launch virtual servers called as, this virtual servers is nothing but EC2 instances. Then what is the definition of EC2? It is the AWS services where we can launch virtual servers called as EC2 instances. Then what is the definition of elastic Beanstalk? It easily and quickly deploy the applications. There are two services in AWS where we can launch the servers. One is EC2 and one is Elastic Beanstalk. EC2 is the infrastructure as a service and Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service. If we use EC2 service, then we need to deploy, we need to maintain, we need to configure our application. If we use Elastic Beanstalk service, we just need to upload the application. Everything will be managed by AWS. Then why we are using this AWS services like Elastic Load Balancer and everything? Because AWS will provide us high availability, AWS will provide us scalability, AWS will provide us auto scaling. Everything will be managed by AWS. So our application will never go down. So this is the means 1% part of EC2. We will go through much deeper in EC2. This is just one part. I will cover everything in EC2 in next video.